Quiet, please. A chuine uisle agus a cháirte. Bhhailm fíorchaoin fáilte a chorróid ar fad tróna agus ócáid táchtach a líonta agus cultúrga. You're very welcome. I have to tell you, it's just so wonderful to see such a crowd here again after all the dreadful goings-on of the last couple of years. So it's really very special to have such a crowd, and thank you for coming and avoiding the beach this evening. You may go back to it shortly. It's such a pleasure to have Liam Butler back. It's a long time ago since we first had his exhibition, since we first sold his work and then had a number of exhibitions. But it's even more special this evening because not only has he brought his own work, but he has brought his own children with him and their work too. And this is a kind of a unique experience in our long history of this gallery, I have to say, an artist with 3 of his children. But he didn't stop there. Do you know who he got to open the exhibition? His brother. His brother. And the wonderful thing is, his brother is a very distinguished educator and writer. And like his other brother, Liam, he also is one who encourages young people in terms of writing, publishing and promoting as well. He writes a lot of books for teenage children, plays, radio plays. He's a multi-talented man and does a lot of teaching as well. So it's a genuine pleasure to have to open the show, James Butler.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Now, listen, I wouldn't mind, you could draw closer if you want, because I'm, I don't have a microphone, and I voice sometimes, I'm always told to project it more and more, but listen, if you draw a bit closer, it's fine.
Brilliant. Come on.
Come on, guys, come on. It's like I'm reminded of teaching when, teachers, kids come in and they all hang around at the back and you say, come on, room up at the front. So I mean that because it's actually easier for me to talk and be heard. First of all, I think I have a great sense of excitement to be here just to be given the lovely job of actually saying a few words. And there's a sense of excitement. I have it, and I think you all have it here as well. Because for a few reasons, I think to be all of us be in a room again after, where there's no restrictions, it's just amazing, I think, for that reason. And what Tom said, that word unique, I think is really special, and it's really so true that to have 4 members of the one family is just stunning, I think. And I think that's really, that unique is what the word is. Liam, Ronan, Lisa and Davin are just together, where we can see all their work. I've seen them in separate places down through the years, so it's such a thrill to see it all here. Now, I want to thank all the butlers, and we have a full set of butlers here. I don't know, and welcome Susan's family as well. You're all very welcome, and all your family's friends who have gathered here. I'm just delighted to see everybody, such a big crowd here. I just really appreciate you coming here.
Paddy from Mexico.
Oh God, Paddy as well. Yeah. Our brother Paddy from Mexico. He brought the Mexican weather with him, which is and I'd imagine this would be one of the highlights of your time here, Paddy. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks very much. So happy to be here.
Yes.
I saw just Ronan's sculpture of the swans just here, and it reminded me of the story of the children of Lyra. I think that's the inspiration for that story. And it's like, it's one of the saddest stories that we have going back about a family of, 4 children transformed into, put under a tree of the spell and transformed into swans, and they're left there on a lake, isolated for 900 years. And at the end of that 900 years, well, they were there indefinitely, but after Christianity came and after 900 years, they were released from the Dream to the spell. But when they were transformed back, they weren't transformed back into children, they were transformed into 900-year-old people. I suppose all they could do then was die and hopefully go to heaven. Cheerful story. But what I think we have here, what's really unique, is that here we have family who have turned that story on its head, and with COVID, with the period of isolation that they had. It could have been a sad story, whatever, but they transformed that story into just a triumph. And we're seeing just the fruit of that, you know, the isolation that they were doing when they were thrown together. This is what they were able to come up with, and I think it's a stunning sort of.
That one's a happy ending.
Yeah. No, I just think it's for a victory over a time of adversity. So I think it's wonderful. Now I have a few notes here that are hidden that you think I'm just. I want to thank Tom, Dean, for putting the exhibition together. It's just it's fabulous looking. First of all, Tom was first to validate Liam as an artist and to give him the support. And we were at exhibitions down through the years that you've facilitated and curated. The first one was 30 years ago, and I think every artist needs that support, especially when they're starting off in their artistic career. And to see that validation and that support given now to Ronan, Davin and Lisa is just fantastic, And I think that's going to give them the boost to just continue in making art, because it's a real vote of confidence from you for all that, you know what I mean, that it's a recognition, and I think they already appreciate it. I think there's a lot of learning, just a teaching background. There's a lot of learning, I think, and a lot of learning has gone on here and a lot of teaching. And my background is in teaching, and I'm always interested in how people learn and all of what stops them from learning. But the first ingredient is curiosity. So I was imagining what went on in this family, and I was imagining Ronan going to Susan and saying, "Mum, what's Dad doing with that flamethrower in the shed?" And then I was imagining Ronan going out to Liam and asking him that question that every parent dreads, and it's not where did I come from, but Dad, can I have a go at that? And I think it's, not only was Ronan given a go at doing it, Lisa was also given a go at doing it, Davin was also given a go at doing it. And I think it was just, so we have to give credit to Liam and Susan, as of them together as just, I think what it is that to have the tolerance to be able to literally let your children play with fire. And to do it in such a way that they can actually explore their own creativity, and to explore that creativity with a view to seeing, can it sustain them going on in their careers, or going on, can they make this into a career? And again, from the evidence we see here, no doubt but that it's actually going to be a career that that suits them, and that's they've chosen, and it's right. We can all see that with our own eyes. Okay.
I saw it first.
Now I want to say a few words about each of the. I won't bring up any of the stuff from the past and whatever it is, like children or whatever. No, this is just all about art. Yeah. Liam's work doesn't need talking up at this stage. You know what I mean? We're all aware of his work. We've seen it. A lot of us have pieces of his work. And there's 4 things I want to say about his work. 4, actually. Yeah.
Not 3.
No, 4. Yeah. First of all, and again, you referred to it in the brochure, his signature style. I think we've all recognized Liam's work down through the years. I was on a bus a couple of months back, going in on the 16 bus in Dublin, going into Harold's Cross, looking out the window. And there was an apartment in the distance, and I could see a piece of sculpture in the window. And I said, "That's that Fecker's." Can't go anywhere, but you see, you know what I mean? He's like, his work is there, always to be seen, so instantly recognised. The other thing is that I've noticed friends of mine, when I go to, there's a couple of houses I go to, there's either a piece of sculpture belonging to Liam in the window, or else there's a dancer out in the back garden or whatever, and people have lots of, there's people in Dublin, friends of mine will have his pieces. And the other thing I notice about it is that they're so proud to have a piece, and they get so much enjoyment out of owning a piece. Okay? And the third thing, the most important, is his generosity of spirit. And I think actually also his generosity of money. So, no, many times when I was a student in Dublin, or a student when I needed money for, books, I would go to Liam and he would always give me sort of, and the beautiful thing about it was that he always saw it as a gift, never as a loan, which is great, yeah. But that's an aside. What I'm really talking about is generosity of spirit, because I was thinking, you know, to engage to that degree with the family like that around teaching. I was thinking of, this is, behind him here is that Liam there is the brought on salmon of knowledge, brought on Vasa. Yeah. And in that story, the thing about it, Finnegas, who is the wise old man, catches the salmon of knowledge, and he tells Fionn, under no circumstances are you to eat any of that salmon. But you know, we know the story is that Fionn burns his thumb and puts it in his mouth and then gets it. But something awful about that story is that Finnegas wanted to keep all that knowledge to himself, when you think about it. But here's Liam, I'm saying, who is willing to share his knowledge going forward, and not to share it in such a fantastic way. I think it's just amazing to have that sort of generosity of spirit. Not everybody has that. The last thing I would say about it shortly is that I know that there's fire involved in the creation of them. And I think he's given this gift to the others as well. That even though they're fired, always at the end, they always retain some warmth, I think. And that's probably maybe why people probably value them and like them so much. There's always warmth, no matter what the subject matter. No matter how windswept or the tree, or no matter whatever's going on. Okay. That's Liam finished with now. He won't get Ronan, next Ronan. First, we have to say something about Ronan's humility and courage, because not everybody can admit that their old fella knows more than yeah. And I think not only to admit that, but just then to set about actually being interested and curious enough to learn and to have that tolerance and to be able to do that. That's, that takes a lot. And the other thing, I think we have to give Ronan as being a role model for the others, because in a sense he was the first to be doing this art. And he knew the others, just Lisa and Davin, watching him saying, "Oh well, I wonder how this is going to go." You know what I mean? And obviously we can see how well he succeeded, and how pleasant a task it was to learn in that way, and that Davin and Lisa then were able to do the same. Because if it hadn't been a good experience, they wouldn't have done it. What I would have noticed Ronan's work first done in Kilkenny. He was exhibiting with Liam's, and I could see the roots, the connection, coming from the same soil or whatever. But what I could see even there straight away was like his own individuality starting, appearing in it, and his own style forming. And just every time I saw his work in the RDS or in Bloom, there's always a progression and there's an elegance in the work that's that's progressing all the time. And all these pieces, just look at all these pieces here, and I know he's influenced by his travels abroad, and it's very much the environment and his time spent abroad has really influenced his work. But I was his piece there with just the elephant piece. Just I think it shows how far not only he's travelled abroad, but how far he's travelled in his imagination as well. Just fantastic. Yeah. So. Lisa. Lisa is in that city. I'd say we're very. It's great to do art in Berlin, and it's a work of art in itself, I think. Lisa's there, and before that, I know she did qualified occupational therapist, and she's also worked with an inclusive art charity And I know she said she was influenced by her time that she spent with Macnas here in Galway. And what's striking about that, I think, is, I think what I'm getting from Lisa's work, anyway, is just that her art is an expression of her own self, but I think there's a huge part of it where she's art as out in the community, and art about people's health and the healthcare. I think I would be right in saying that there's a huge, and just from other part, I know she's a huge interest in words and in poetry, and I know in exploring maybe her own creative writing, which I'd love to hear more about. But I think that influence, that just, you can see that in her pieces. I think the way that she has taken time over even just what's in the pieces is even just that community aspect to them. And I would imagine during this period of isolation, when we look at the titles that she has on them, it's like Pod and whatever, that she was very central to what was going on during that time. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that combination of your interest in the writing and words combined with that whole community aspect. I think there's going to be, great things there.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is Davin now, just nearly finished. Davin, he was the youngest, and I know he was interested in doing part-time while you were studying web design. And during COVID, I think he's really just found spending that time with the family and spending time doing that art, he realised that this was his true calling, okay? Which is, and he also spent a lot of time, I think he was in Canada and abroad, and I think was in Canada very influenced by working in an art gallery there. And I think was working with the art from an indigenous population. I think it really influenced his style. And I suppose like all of them here, if you look at their pieces, you see that they're all influenced by the environment and nature. It's there in every piece. I think what was true with Davin as well about this idea of not afraid to experiment and explore, which I'm sure Liam has taught them. And the same meant to say for Lisa's as well, that whole thing of trying to bring new ideas into challenge the medium. Lisa brought that in with the origami thing in Japanese, where you're trying to bring folded paper, and to be trying to do that with copper and to give that effect is just amazing. And I think Davin is doing that also with the patinas, with the colours that he is trying to bring to his art. So we see here, I think it's always trying to just explore and actually make more of it. I think it's wonderful. I was down in Killarney recently. This is just a story about few were down in town, and we booked a restaurant for dinner. And of all the restaurants we picked, it would have to be one with a sculpture of Liam's in the window. So there's no getting away from And the owner, I was talking to the owner just at the end of the night, and he said there was his most prized possessions that he had, and he could have sold them 10 times over. So looking forward again to seeing the development of the exploration and experimentation and all that's going to happen. I'm really excited about, again, Davin, what you're doing. Just a couple of things. Just to say about Susan as well, like she has to have been a huge amount to do with his family's artistic endeavours. I hear now that she's actually starting to play with fire herself. So I know she's doing it with miniature copper, which is interesting. And she'll be hanging them from her ear rather than. But I know they're out there as well. Yeah. Lastly, this is the last thing. Just the exhibition is called Copper Roots here. And I know it's because of their love for copper. But also I think the idea of the roots is really important, because it's like roots underground and just all those connections. And the pieces, again, I was just talking up is how individual each piece is. But they're all kind of speaking to one another, I think, in an amazing way. That we've got Liam's tree is like speaking to Lisa's nest sanctuary, okay? And Lisa's next sanctuary, are her pods that are on that she is, which go back to COVID and all of that, are to me I don't see them as peas in a pod, but as that idea of the pod, the whales, the family of whales or sea creatures and everything depending on the environment and that connection. And that speaks, I think, to Davin's love of the sea and swimming, right? And that Davin's love of the sea connects to Ronan's boat, in a sense, which is kind of a vehicle for saving people or just whatever, like a nest in a sense. And that goes back to Liam's tree, where the last thing I would say is that all these pieces can be uprooted gently and bought.
We take cash.
So I've talked about everybody loving having to have Liam's pieces, but I think you would equally love having Ronan's, Davin's and Lisa's pieces also. Yeah, because they're speaking they're different voices, but they're just all
Thank you, James. I have a word of advice for James. Long may he keep travelling around this country and bumping into Butler. Just one last point, please. There's a very big crowd here, happily, this evening, but it means that you can't necessarily see all of the work. And I promise you, it is well worth a visit to come back in slightly quieter times when you can walk around the pieces and appreciate them even more, because they're all three-dimensional pieces. And if you're as tall as the Butlers, you can see down, but I'm not. So, you miss quite a bit of it.
I didn't get the height. He was better fed than I was.
You got the worst. Anyway, thank you kindly for your attention and enjoy the exhibition. Thank you very much.